kept saying, somebody's looking out for somebody wants to tell me something. I don't know what this dime means. Nobody knows what the dime means.
This is Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I am your host, Trapper Jack. What we do here is explore those moments when heaven and earth collide. And God says, see me? I'm right here shooting off the flare gun. See me here? See me here? But sometimes we don't understand what the heck he's saying. Sometimes he's trying to draw us into conversation, but sometimes it's really hard to understand what are you doing? What are you saying right now? Well, we'll start with a story from Linda Lamarca, and then I'll tell you one of my own personal stories, and we can kind of explore what is God up to during those moments when we just don't understand.
Making a FaceTime audio call to Linda Lamarca.
Hello.
There we go. Well, what's the dime story? What's that one?
Okay, so again, it was after my mom passed. The first occurrence happened. I just had detailed my whole car, and I went to go in, and there was a dime on the seat, and I'm like, oh, probably left a dime. Money's all over the car, whatever. Then I get to work. I go and I park and leave work, and I go into my car, and there's a dime on the chair.
Is this the first dime or a second dime?
This is the second dime. I have the other dime. I started
on the driver's seat.
On the driver's seat.
There was a dime, and now there's another dime.
Yes.
Okay.
So I took that one out. So I'm driving home. I get out of my car. This is a couple weeks later, I get out of my car, and there's a dime laying on the floor. Now, there's no pennies, no nickels. I'm not finding anything. It's always a dime. So,
and you don't have loose changes falling out of your pants?
No. So I pick up the other dime. A couple days go by, find another dime, and I'll tell you all the spots that I found dimes.
Okay.
Like after I got done wiping down the kitchen counters, there's a dime sitting there. After I got done vacuuming the floor, there's a dime in the middle of the rug. I can't even tell you how many times. So I started collecting these dimes. Okay. My sister noticed, she was with me, and she's like, Linda, there's a dime. And I'm like, I'm telling you. So I started collecting these dimes.
As in saving them in a particular place, a jar?
Exactly. In a little jar. I kept them in a little jar. And they were found everywhere. On the floors. And I go to her house, and I go to the bathroom. She had just cleaned the bathroom. And I come out with this dime, and I go, did you forget a dime, or is somebody trying to tell me something? She goes, Linda, I just cleaned that bathroom. I'm like, okay. So the last one. So I was collecting these dimes.
For how long? How long has this been going on?
It took 2 years. It was 2 years. Started in like October or November of 2014. And the last dime I found, I'll tell you that story, but I had $9.90 of dimes.
What?
Yeah. $9.90. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, I found a dime everywhere I looked. My husband will attest to it. And it was just weird. It was on my dresser.
What was the event preceding this? Did something happen right before this?
Well, my mom passed away.
When did she die?
October of 2014.
And then all of a sudden the dime thing starts happening.
Yes. Okay. So, I didn't link the two together, but I just kept saying, somebody's looking out for somebody wants to tell me something. I don't know what this dime means. Nobody knows what the dime means. We still have no. So the last one was Joe and I bought that rental property, and it's up the street, and the washing machine broke. So we gave them our old washing machine, and we bought a new one. So the old washing machine, it was a front loader. So of course we cleaned it out, did the whole, make sure it's all sterilized and everything before it goes up there. And we take it up there, we put it down. Joe goes to open it up, and there's a dime sitting in the middle of the drum that was just there. That was the last one we found. I found $10. I've never found another dime like that again.
Did you hit the $10 mark exactly?
Exactly. It was August something of 2016.
So the 10 cents multiplied exactly times 100, right?
Yep.
That's 100 dimes.
Yep. I found 100 dimes.
It was exactly 100 dimes, came to $10 from the 10 cents each.
And never seen a dime by itself again. Not just, never seen one.
Do you have any theories at all? Did your mom and dimes? Did your mom collect dimes? Did she have a coin jar?
No, my mom used to sing that pennies from heaven thing.
Yeah, that's pennies, though. That's pennies.
But those are pennies. And, she also was a little gambler. Mm-hmm. And when they were in Vegas, she won on a dime machine. This is the only thing that I can, honestly, we've tried to think, well, why would it be, why would these dimes be coming up? And of course, my dad's like, well, your mother hit it big on that dime machine in Vegas.
How big did she hit?
Like $5,000.
That's a lot of dimes.
Yeah. But
it's kind of funny because that doesn't mean necessarily anything to you other than she hit on a dime machine. She hit,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I like I said, I didn't know. Joe goes, did you tell him about the dimes? And I'm like, no, I forgot all about them.
But you think it's mom related because it started at the same time.
Exactly.
And ran almost 2 years.
Yes. Yeah.
That is.
It's a weird story.
It is a weird story. It is a weird story.
And the way it started off with just them being on my seat and, $10. I still have all 100 of them. The $10 worth of dimes.
Well, we'll have to throw that, but it doesn't mean anything to you, though.
It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I have no idea. There's no.
Your four siblings. Your four siblings. They're like, what? They're not getting this either.
They have no idea. But we just know that there's a significance in dimes. We're still waiting to find out, but I've never seen one since.
Well, I'll throw it out to listeners, see if anybody has a dime theory, because I know that it's always a dime, not a penny, not a nickel,
not a penny,
not
and
quarters.
It's always just in the middle of the table or in the middle of just something. On the top of my husband's Mustang.
What?
There was a dime. Yep.
On top,
on the roof, and nobody touches. You can't touch his car. I mean, you just don't touch his car.
Well, and to wipe down a kitchen counter, and suddenly there's a dime sitting there.
Right.
Gee.
Yep.
It's
weird. It's weird, but that's the story I have. I don't know what the dime signifies.
Have you Googled it?
No. I just wanna like.
I know, but it's one of those things. Why am I finding dimes everywhere? You might find that Google says, I don't know what Google's going to say. I don't know, but it seems to be mom related. Wow,
right?
Crazy. So I Googled it, and what it appears to be, what most people think it is, as opposed to back in episode 3, Linda Lamarca was there too, when she got an obvious sign from God. From heaven that mom was in heaven and doing great. She got and go back to episode 3 if you want to hear that. But in these kinds of situations, it seems to be saying, God seems to be saying, the loved one seems to be saying, you're doing okay. Not I'm okay here. You're doing okay. That seems to be what I kept reading about on Google, a little Google search, that it's kind of a message that you're doing fine. Why dimes or whatever coinage it happens to be, but it seems to happen a lot with dimes. So that seems to be somewhere wrapped in there. But when it comes to God, it's not like you can Google God and just say, what do you mean? You have to kind of write it out a little bit to figure out sometimes what it is he's trying to say. Okay, now then, my story. Another case where I was obviously receiving a message, not dimes. I was not getting any coinage from heaven at all, but I was certainly getting a message. But what on earth was I to make of this? The time between my last podcast, Blind Faith Live, it ended in August of 2017, to April of 2018, when Touched by Heaven began, those 7 months, I will tell you, were the most difficult months, the most difficult time ever in my life. And not just because I didn't have a podcast. God would not allow me to have a podcast. God didn't allow me to have anything. God didn't allow me to have a goal, a glimmer of light, emptiness. emptiness. That's what I had for 7 months. There was just a whole lot of pain and emptiness that I now, of course, have a different perspective on as I look back, right? And we always talk about everything is a blessing. It didn't feel like one, but in the midst of it, I kept saying to my wife, Beth, somewhere in all of this is a blessing. We're going to come out the other side. These 7 months, they were horrible by human standards. There were a series of tests. That's what it feels like now. There was a spiritual test, then came a psychological test, followed by a financial test, followed by a physical test. Each one of these tests, each one of these phases lasted anywhere from several weeks to months, and it was not comfortable. It was the most challenging time of my life. And when I kept thinking about, you know the gospel reading, I'm going to paraphrase a gospel reading. It's the one where the apostles are on the boat. And Jesus is on the boat too, and the storm kicks in, and they're tossing and turning, and as I say, I'm going to paraphrase. And they're running around going, we're all going to die. We're just going to die out here. This is horrible. Where's Jesus? And Jesus is in the back of the boat sleeping. What the heck is that about? And they come running to him, and they're waking him up. And we're all going to die, Jesus. We're all going to die. You got to help us, man. Yeah, we're going to. And paraphrasing, he kind of opens one eye and goes, what? We're all going to die. Don't you understand? We're all going to die. And Jesus just kind of, what? And it's like they're thinking he doesn't understand. And he's looking at them like, you don't understand. Because he's saying to them, am I with you? Am I with you? Paraphrasing. Whether you live or die doesn't matter because I'm with you. What are you afraid of? What's the big deal? But we're all going to die. We all get wrapped up in this physical stuff, right? And Jesus is saying, what are you afraid of? Am I with you? If I'm with you, it shouldn't matter what you're going through. You're fine because I'm with you. That's what he's trying to tell them. But they can't get out of that. We're all going to die. And so he calms the seas. Best I can tell, the apostles failed the test. Best I can tell. So here I was, and I'm every day I'm thinking of this gospel every day. Because it's tossing and turning, and Jesus is saying to me, am I with you? Because I'm not feeling him. I am not being saved by him, let's say. I'm not getting music. I've talked about, especially in the Blind Faith Live series, I get music that plays in my head. I wasn't getting music that was leading me to any kind of secure, everything's going to be okay. I wasn't getting anything. It was just emptiness, blankness, pain, dealing with whatever these tests were, and knowing that I was being tested. I would say to Beth, this all means something. God's hand is all over this, and we're going to get through this. But right now, it's just painful. And the little times that I did spend with family and stuff or friends, put on the happy face, everything's fine. I was dying inside. Absolutely dying inside and trying not to let it show. It's like, I'm going to get through this. I've got to get through this. This is part of the test. This is some kind of test that's going on right now. I can't stress enough how I was not allowed a distraction. There was to be nothing that appeared to be a goal, a bright, shiny something in my future. Nothing. I was only allowed to feel that challenge, that test. That was it. Even if I, in the times I was socializing, I was there, but I wasn't there. But while I was there, I needed to be there for them. But in my mind, I wasn't there. I was not allowed distractions of any sort. I had to face the challenge and still love God and love everyone around me, despite the fact that things felt so bad, so awful. And it was interesting because I kept saying, Jesus, I know you're closer to me than ever. Right now. Just like Jesus and the apostles there on the boat, they're within inches of each other physically, right? That close. Jesus was that close. But initially, Jesus wasn't rescuing. He was just, we're tossing and turning and am I with you? And that's what I kept saying. I know you're with me. I know you're with me, Jesus. This is not fun. And every day I would say, Jesus, I trust in you. And I could see the series of tests coming. There was that spiritual test, there was that psychological test, there was a financial, and still to come was the physical test. And I would just say, I know you're close, and I know You aren't allowing me to feel you right now, but I know you are really close and I love you and I trust you. So I'd go through these series of tests. This lasted for months. This pain, this blessing lasted for months. And I kept thinking, I'm being purified. I know I'm being purified. And Beth was too, just by osmosis. She had to go through this with me, right? So both of us, through osmosis for her, and physically too. And I mean, she had to withstand this stuff too. So now 4 months later, here comes Christmas time, and I get this push to go to confession. I'm a Catholic. I get this push, and I have not been to confession in over a decade. Surprisingly, maybe. But every day I always have examination of conscience and all. But as far as actually physically going into a church to the priest, confessing my sins and all that, I hadn't done that for over a decade. And I felt this push that I needed to do that. And I did. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I left there just feeling so good. And things shifted. Something shifted. God wanted me to do that. Something shifted. And I got a little inspiration. That's when I got the inspiration for Touched by Heaven and what it would be. I still didn't quite trust that there would be enough stories to keep it going. There may not, I don't know how long this is going to last. It may not. That's up to you, really. And God, obviously God, and whether or not you feel the push to let me know your stories. But the other thing that happened was I suddenly began to get a song, as in the old Blind Faith Live days. Suddenly there was a song that was playing. And the song was Christopher Cross, Sailing. See, out on the water, right? So, God has so much fun with this stuff. He just has so much fun communicating. And so he was going to have kind of some fun, but with a huge message. Sailing by Christopher Cross. Well, it's not that far from paradise. At least it's not for me. For when the wind's just right and we sail away, sailing to tranquility. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me, this is Jesus talking to me. Finally, Jesus is done with the quiet and he starts talking to me. It's not that far from paradise. It's not. Living on earth in heaven. On earth in heaven. It's not that far from paradise. At least it's not for me. When the wind's just right and we sail away, yeah, you'll find tranquility. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Well, who's the canvas? Jesus is the canvas. The sail. You can have wind, like you can be sitting in a boat with all the wind in the world there, but if the sail's not up, if the sail's not working, you're going nowhere. The canvas, Jesus, can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me. Here he was again saying, believe me, trust in me. Trust in me. And then the lyric goes on, something like sailing can take me away to where I always heard it could be just the dream and the wind taking me, and the sailing can set me free or something like that. But later, it's kind of funny. Later on it says, well, it's not that far back to sanity. Just you wait and see. And sailing again, believe in me. And I'm just, thankfully, there was the song saying, okay, I'm here, and we're back. We're sailing together. Then came the inspiration for Touched by Heaven. Okay. But there was one more test. It was a physical test. I had an injury that say that word 3 times, debilitated me for 7 weeks, where I would get like a 3-hour nap at night, and it was nerve damage. So I couldn't take painkillers to relieve the pain. It just was pain. And so I get like a 3-hour nap, then I wake up with this pain, and then I walk around the house all night. And do you feel sorry for me yet? Don't. This was also part of it. The physical pain was actually the easiest of all the tests. It was the easiest. And I thought I knew this would be gone by Easter. Why? Because target date for Touched by Heaven was 2 days after Easter. And sure enough, by Easter, it was gone. And Touched by Heaven then began. And the song still plays. Like 95% of the time, if I'm aware of a tune playing in my head, it's like, there it is, Sailing, Christopher Cross. Believe in me. Trust in me. So what's the big takeaway here? If you are going through a particularly tough season in your life right now, know that God is there. Know that he's there. And it can feel so cold at times because we're saying to God, don't you understand? Don't you understand what I'm going through? Where are you? Just like the apostles. And Jesus, an inch away from him. You'll notice the gospel doesn't say, and then Jesus reached out, reassured them by touching them on the shoulder. No. He didn't. It doesn't say that he touched them. It doesn't say that he touched them. He's just looking at him like, and your problem? Am I not right here? What are you afraid of? What are we afraid of? You know how often it talks about fear in the Bible, right? 365 times it mentions fear in the Bible. Do you think we're a little over the top in fear? And we are. Part of this fallen world is how afraid we are of things. It's a world of fear. What could happen? What might happen? What is happening? Is it going to happen? We're afraid. And Jesus keeps saying, what are you afraid of? Fear not. What are you afraid of? I'm right here. No matter, live, die, go through whatever the hardship, I'm right here. So you have nothing to be afraid of. But we still are. But he's still right there. And he's reassuring us, I'm right here. You don't have to be afraid of anything. So the takeaway is you don't have to be afraid of anything. And that he's right. Even if you don't feel him, know that he's closer than ever. And that we're being purified. And that can sound so clinical. It can sound so sterile. I'm being tested right now. But it's not sterile at all. He's making us shiny. He's shining us up. He is. He's purifying. He's making us shiny. He's getting us closer, because this should be second nature to us now. What should be happening through our life every time we hit a new challenge, we should be stronger. So that no matter what happens, we say, I'm not afraid. I've got God with me. What do I have to be afraid about? And some people, you see that in them. It's just like on they go. It's like, wow, something to admire. And we're supposed to be like that too. We're getting shinier. We're being tested. We're being purified. It's not sterile at all. Because when we do that, what happens? We trust God more, right? Which is loving him more. No greater test, is there, of loving God than trusting him, saying, I'm with you, whatever. I said that so many times during those 7 months. Whatever. I'm looking up going, I don't get all of this yet, but this has some meaning, right? Because I'm going to come out the other side. And I did. And what if I hadn't? What if this was still going on? What if this was going to take years? Jesus, I trust in you. And I kept saying that. I don't know how long this is going to last, God. I'm not sure what this is all about, but I know you're testing me. I know you're purifying me, and I know I'm supposed to trust you and love you more. And then what does it say? In the Bible, it talks about how, wait a minute, I'm going for the word. What's the word? Faithful. God is forever faithful. He is forever faithful. He always comes to the rescue. He does. In some way, shape, or form, in ways we don't always understand. He will always be faithful, much more than we ever could be to him. Much more. But he keeps shining us up and purifying us. Now we're sailing. And Jesus is the canvas, picking up the wind, and away we go. And keep in mind, my hand is on that rudder too. I have choices here. Do I use that sail properly? Do I use Jesus properly? Do I go where he wants me to go? Because I can go, I don't want to go that way, and I can turn the rudder. I can mess up his plan. And he says, believe in me. Believe in me. I'm the canvas. And the canvas can do miracles in all of our lives. We can do such amazing things with Jesus being the canvas and that wind blowing. There's nothing more perfect. And when the wind blows and Jesus takes us exactly where we're supposed to go at exactly the right time. So if you feel like you're going through a purifying test right now, you are. Blessed be God. You're going to come out of it just fine. You're going to be stronger. You're going to take a notch out of that fear factor. You're going to be sailing with Jesus. What more peaceful place could there be than sailing with Jesus? I could play for you, I guess, other Touched by Heaven moments, but why? I think we have. I don't have anything else to play. As far as I'm concerned, this is it. And I will see you next week. I'm Trapper Jack, and this is Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God.